What were the questions that came out of the gate right here? Because we get so locked in on Detroit sports. What do we have?
We couldn't remember who won the Super Bowl. Well, I couldn't remember who won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I guess it's Philadelphia.
Well, the Lions have to play both of the teams who were in the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah.
Does that make you feel any better?
No.
No? And what was the other question?
I couldn't remember who won the NCAA tournament. Our team's lost and baseball was on, so I just didn't care. I just didn't care at all.
Just tuned. I didn't even look at the bracket anymore.
Yeah, no. It was gone.
All right, welcome to DSP, and thank you for joining us on this lovely Monday, along with Derek back. Yeah. Returning to the lineup. Ken.
Good to be back.
Still here.
The utility infielder, outfielder.
Yeah, they moved me around.
You're like the Javi Baez of our crew.
Yeah.
The Zach McKinstry of DSP.
Don Kelly.
Yeah. Pittsburgh Pirates manager.
Less
Don Kelly?
shouty.
No.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. That's you, but that's what you are. You are all of the above. And I'm Hobie. Thank you for joining us on DSP. All right. Last week we were talking about the Lions' schedule and just how difficult it was going to be. 8 games at home, 9 games on the road. And whenever you look at the teams that they do play on the road, 7 were in the playoffs last year. 8 finished above 500. We knew what the pieces of the puzzle were going to be. But when the schedule officially came out on Wednesday night, what was the initial reaction for yourself of, oh, man, that right there is either good or bad for this team?
Yeah, we were kind of talking about it earlier. It's that middle section of games in between the Sunday night games with all the it's like the Chiefs are in there, the Eagles are in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a grind in that. I don't know, something about seeing the games actually given to weeks makes it, I don't know, it makes the schedule so much more real.
And then there it is. We were talking about this. It's like schedule from right there, week 5, like after the Browns game, from the Bengals to the Chiefs, to the Bucks, and they have a bye week right there. That Bucks game is going to be on Monday Night Football. But then they have the Vikings, and then they have the Commanders on the road, and then they are at the Philadelphia Eagles, and then they have the Giants at home. But that stretch right there, guys, that really could dictate the trajectory of this entire season.
Sure.
I mean, I don't really care about that stretch, to be honest with you, because every game matters, in the NFL. Every game. I mean, seriously. So, they have the entire schedule is really hard. Like, you can pick any stretch of the schedule and you can find a bunch of really hard games in there. So I think if you just look at the entire schedule as one segment, you can see that it's going to be a tough task for them.
They're going to have to prove. They're going to have to prove it this year. I mean, they earned it the last 2 years to be talked about, to get those big games, to get that respect. But now this is the prove it season for this team.
Yeah, I think last year one of our concerns was like, okay, the Lions made it over the playoff hurdle, right? They won 2 playoff games, and are they going to get complacent, or can they start from scratch and do it all over again? And they went 15-2. So this year, I think I would be more worried about them if they hadn't had such a devastating playoff loss.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like the mentality of this team is to sort of, take the punches, and that makes them stronger. So, the schedule is really tough, but I still think the Lions are one of the best and most talented rosters in the league. So, they're equipped to get through this schedule.
They're definitely one of the best teams. I think when we look at this really hard schedule, we maybe forget a little bit. Like, they were really, really good last year and the year before. And they should be really, really good again this year. But expecting another 15-win season is really an unrealistic, like trying to say, are they going to be as good as last year? Well, if you're comparing it to the record, there's no way they're going to win 15 games, right? So
there is a way.
Yeah, well, they winning 15 games, yeah,
there is a way. I mean, you said
possible.
every game is hard last year. I mean, if we're going by that logic, they could do it again.
They stumbled into a lot of subpar quarterbacks last year, and that really helped them.
Titans,
rip off
Jags,
that winning streak,
that
winning streak in the middle of that season to really bolster those numbers up. They're going to be hitting probably every great quarterback in the league this year in that schedule. So the defense is just going to have to be a totally different level to win those games.
Mahomes,
especially
Lamar,
on the road.
JJ McCarthy, like all of the best QBs in the NFL out there.
Love how you snuck that one in. There you go. I mean, Sam Darnold,
Is he on here? I don't
know.
No, he's not.
Okay.
No. Who knows if Aaron Rodgers is going to be on it? In theory, could be.
Yeah, Pittsburgh, is that what you're thinking?
Yeah. Maybe. I don't know.
Well,
could be.
Kicking him around a little bit never gets old. So, yeah, I welcome an Aaron Rodgers return.
But, I mean, the quarterbacks they have to go up against are incredible. I mean, you're talking about Lamar Jackson, Joey Burrow, your boy.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield, who killed us last year. Jalen Hurts. I mean, Dak Prescott.
Mahomes.
Matthew Stafford. he's going to, I mean, I think that's a loss. That's an easy loss for the Lions, honestly.
Wow.
I think
Against the
Stafford
Rams, you
finally
think
gets his payback on this. I mean, he's
like
just
in
sitting there
LA
waiting.
and that's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, except they kind of they're kind of sellers, right? I mean, the Rams are going to be worse this year.
I don't know.
think so.
Really?
I don't know.
I don't trust.
Okay.
No, I think the Rams are like.
And Puka Nacua was hurt whenever they played in that Sunday Night Football game to open up the season last year.
I think Sean McVay is so good that team will just always be competitive no matter what. Yeah.
I agree with you. I agree.
Just one of those coaches.
Yeah. I mean, one of those teams and one of those quarterbacks who does not quit. I mean, Lions fans know that quite well with Matthew Stafford. Were you upset that it's Green Bay out of the gate in week 1? Because we were making our predictions last week. Who did you say you wanted?
Baltimore.
You wanted Baltimore?
Just get it out of the way.
That's what he said. That was my argument.
And I wanted, granted, they come up in week 2, but I really wanted the Bears week 1.
Yeah.
I really wanted that one. I mean, you still get Ben Johnson at the beginning of the season. And who knows, week 18, whenever they meet up, that could have some implications to it outdoors.
For the Lions.
For the Lions,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, not for the Bears. We're not doing that again this year, right? I mean, come on. We're doing it again? We're doing the Bears thing again? Okay.
You never know.
I wasn't here.
They did, in respect to them, they went out and the things that they needed to fix, they did. Offensive line was atrocious last year. What did they hammer home all offseason long? Let's add some better offensive linemen.
Yeah.
It's a great offensive line for Caleb Williams.
Yeah, Colson Loveland will, I mean, that'll be a good player.
Roma
for Cincinnati.
Dunze, another year
For sure,
for
yeah.
him. DJ Moore, still a weapon.
Yeah, on
Their
paper, they
coaching-
did a really good job.
And their coaching was so bad.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's true.
brutally bad. Like,
Ben Johnson can be a
decision-making.
bad coach and still be an upgrade.
Yeah, they'd be like, wow. Time management. is
Ooh, a
amazing.
trick play. There we go. Lovely.
Yeah, I wasn't here to give what I hope the
Yeah.
opener would be, but I would have said the Browns just because it's an automatic win. Ohio teams in the same.
little
Michigan.
layup.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, but we get that. What, week 3 is it? Week 4.
It's week 4.
So, yeah, I
Right
actually,
after Baltimore.
I actually think the beginning of the schedule, other than that Ravens game, is probably the easiest portion of it.
Probably.
I mean, if you had to say like, okay, we get the Bears and the Browns and a Packers team that we've kind of handled pretty well over the last few years, like
Yeah.
you have to feel pretty good about that.
Plus, you get the Lambeau game out.
Yes.
And you get a division game done.
Yeah.
And I don't hate it. I mean, it's not the sexy matchup we were looking for probably, but
It kinda still
Packers
is,
Lions
though.
is
I mean,
always
it's still- that's
Packers
still a
Lions is
draw.
always interesting. It's
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting forever. So
And to your point about getting Lambeau Field in week 1, the most surprising thing about this entire schedule to me is we were discussing last week and we're still discussing now all of the road games that they have to play in potentially cold weather environments. And after mid-November, the only outdoor game that they have is the one at the end of the season in Chicago. Granted, Chicago, January, that can be brutal.
Yeah.
But whenever you look at mid-November up, the fortuitous situation for weather could be there.
I think the NFL really hooked the Lions up. They were like, wow, this
It's so tough.
This is
Let's-
your schedule.
yeah.
Let's make sure you're not playing in the cold every single week. So thanks,
Because
NFL.
that would have changed the game in a lot of ways. And granted, the Lions went outside 3 times last year. One was in San Francisco at the end of the year, at the rainy game in Green Bay, and then what was the other outdoor game? Oh, Chicago.
I mean, they're kind of built for it, right? Offensively. I mean, they're a run-first team. They're kind of a smash-mouth team. So I feel like the Lions can kind of thrive in those environments. But yeah, the national TV, I understand like getting the Lions out there in warmer weather games because the people want to see Air Goff, man. Come on.
By the way, those are Dan Campbell's exact words that you just said. What you started your statement with after the Green Bay game. We're built for this.
We're
built for this. Whenever they beat Green Bay in the rain last year.
Yeah.
All right. Are they built to withstand this schedule, though?
I mean,
predictions. I mean,
think
what do you
they'll
see
fare-
whenever you look
think,
at
I
it?
think they're, I've got them at 10-7.
Okay.
Just as a super early look at the schedule. I mean, I think they'll win some of those tough games on the road, but they can't win them all. There's just no way. So, I wrote down, I think they'll beat Kansas City because Kansas City kind of like coasts through the regular season. They don't really care the regular season. I've got them beating Washington as a little payback game. But, I have them losing to Philadelphia and losing to the Rams and losing to Baltimore and maybe even losing to Cincinnati. I have them as an L in Cincinnati because, I keep wanting to call Joe Burrow Andy Dalton. I don't know why. But if Cincinnati is coming, if they're healthy and they don't have the contract issues and all that stuff and Joe Burrow's starting the season healthy and all of that, like they're going to be a dangerous offense to deal with. And so I don't know. I think, they'll win most of their division games like they usually do. And they have a bunch of easier games at home. So 10-7 is where I'm going right now.
This makes me a little uncomfortable. I'm kind of missing Ben because I'm not used to being like the high guy on the Lions, like the optimist. But I came out with 12-5. I genuinely think the Lions might go 8-0 at home next year. I looked at the home schedule. I'm really not scared of any of those games. Sure, like, can the Packers jump up and bite you? Maybe, but like, I don't know. I think all of the tough games are on the road. Like, I've got them losing to the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Commanders, the Eagles, and the Vikings, which I don't think any of those are really, that's not going to blow anybody's mind, right? And like a lot of the games that I didn't include, they're kind of toss-ups. Like, would I be surprised if they lost in Green Bay? No. Would I be surprised if they won any of these games? Honestly, only Baltimore. I don't know. There's like a mental block from what I saw a few years ago in Baltimore. I just don't think the Lions can win that game. So, but yeah, 12-5 is what I came away with. When I heard the other predictions coming in, I was a little like, oh God, maybe I should just lower the bar a little bit.
The ghost of Ben Bell lives on.
Now like if the Lions, drop the ball this year, I'm like, it's the double whammy of like they stink and I was wrong. But I think the Lions, just by getting healthy, they're going to be adding a lot to this team next year, and I just have a lot of faith in Dan Campbell and the roster that Brett Holmes has built.
Well, Vegas is right in between you guys. They have it at 10.5.
I guess I should be.
So there's the optimist. There's the pessimist right there.
I mean, I agree with you. Though, if you look at the schedule, like, it's not like the tough games are complete losses. Like,
right.
Like, there's no way they have a shot. Like, they could easily win these games. Not easily, sorry. But they will be in these games. Like, they can totally, the spreads will be
I think initially,
2 or 3 points,
I think
like
initially they're only underdogs in 5 games coming out of the gate whenever you look at the early projections of this.
Yeah, and who knows what the season looks like midway.
Right.
Well, some of these teams could not be as good as they were. It happens every single year, so you never know. This schedule could ease it up a little bit later. You never know.
Yeah, like Minnesota's quarterback situation is pretty uncertain. Like, if Minnesota doesn't have a quarterback, I mean, this looks completely different, and the division looks completely different, right? So
they might not have a quarterback.
What do you mean? J.J. McCarthy is there.
Hasn't played a snap, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah,
he lit it up in the preseason game that he played.
Yeah, I know.
It's preseason, but
and I don't know. It's just something about having that championship blood.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Okay. Another quarterback that we're number 9 that they have on the schedule too. Yeah. My alma mater, your alma mater.
Yeah. Joe Burrow does that. That is one that I didn't pick the Lions to lose, but that does worry me. Is the Cincinnati game? I mean, it feels like that is a team that could contend for like the biggest jump in win total in the NFL this year, because it doesn't really take that many, like you said, it doesn't take that many different outcomes for them to be like, what, 12-5
for them though. I mean, we've talked about how much talent the Lions have on offense. Cincinnati's defense was the reason why they were held back in so many games, because the Bengals can put up points. They have Jamar Chase, they have T. Higgins. They have the weaponry to be able to make things work. They have Joe Burrow leading them. But defensively, I mean, you can't ask that team to put up 35 points a game and then finish just slightly above 500.
Yeah. Right.
So I mean, that's
they're losing games.
I think that's probably what Cincinnati is thinking is, oh man, our defense versus the Lions offense, that's going to be a shootout type of game.
Yeah.
Like if you're putting the shoe on the other foot.
Yeah, and the Lions, I mean, obviously a lot of like staff changes, so we'll see what the defense looks like, but the Lions have been so good the last couple of years at just making enough defensive plays to win those types of shootouts, like whether it's a Kirby Joseph like interception or you force a fumble. So in those, I wouldn't want to get into that type of game with the Lions if I was the Bengals.
I will say, I don't expect them to like crumble in any way. No. I think that
barring a significant injury, that's the only thing that can really derail things.
Fortunately, that doesn't happen to the Lions very much. I do want to ask you, 10-7. Do you think that wins the division?
That's a great question. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's gonna.
It feels low, right, to win the division?
It feels low. Yeah. It feels low, but I also don't see Green Bay, Chicago, Minnesota ripping off some crazy, win total.
And who knows what Green Bay is going to do this year? Because I thought last year, whenever we reached the midway point of the season, and the Vikings were still undefeated, and the Lions were playing well, and Green Bay was playing well, Green Bay was kind of the team that kind of fell off a little bit. And I think that the Vikings and Packers swapped this year. Because I think the quarterback situation, granted, J.J. McCarthy has the best possible situation you would ever want a new guy entering a starting position to ever have.
Right.
I mean, 2 great wide receivers, a great tight end, a good running game, a good solid defense.
A great quarterback's coach. Like a coach who
understands the position, has been there.
To develop quarterbacks, correct.
We were mentioning the Lions defense, though. Another big question for this team. There are reports out there that Alex Anzalone will not be at OTAs. He hasn't been part of the offseason program, is what word out of Allen Park is being said. He was on Instagram and Twitter the other day saying respect is due with a picture of himself working out. He's entering the final year of his deal, scheduled to make $6 million a year. And we were looking up some of the numbers before we came in here. And that seems, for a player of his caliber, significantly low.
It does. This is such a complex issue whenever this comes up, and specifically in that, because Alex Anzalone is kind of viewed as one of the leaders of this team, wouldn't you say?
For sure.
Yeah.
And this is not to be anti-player, but like a holdout is generally viewed as like a selfish move, right? Wouldn't you say that it's generally viewed as a selfish move?
It depends how far you take it.
For sure. And the Lions...
OTAs are not,
Right.
I mean, because he technically doesn't have to be there because they don't have mandatory minicamp.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to be there until day one of training camp.
The Lions, since Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell took over, have been like a don't deal with crap type of organization. Like, they won't even draft you. They won't sign you if there's anything. But I do feel like $6 million for Alex Anzalone, especially when you just gave Derek Barnes $8 a year, is like, it feels low. And the question to me becomes, do you want to do what it takes to keep him? And with all the extensions the Lions have given out, and the ones I feel they still need to, like if this gets in the way of Aiden or Brian Branch, then I'm saying goodbye to Alex Anzalone. But obviously, the Lions will be in trouble at linebacker if they don't have him.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's obviously a key part of that defense, but you're probably not going to give him a Derek Barnes contract because they're at different points in their careers. And Anzalone definitely deserves to get a raise.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we can all agree on that. He's been fantastic when he's healthy.
Sure.
I mean, all over the field, veteran
Even
leader,
whenever he came back
stuff.
from injury last year, late in the season, I mean, the crowd erupted when he got on the field, and he had a great game against the Vikings in that one.
Yeah. So, but is he going to get a 4 or 5 year deal? No, of course not. So I think it's just about, hey, can we give this man a little bit more to stick around, and that sort of thing.
And I think that's what every great team who builds through the draft eventually ends up with. They end up with a situation like this where you can't pay everybody. I mean, a few years ago, about a decade ago, it was Seattle. They drafted a lot of great players. They built a Super Bowl contender. They built a Super Bowl winning team. And then you only have so much money to pay everybody else from there on.
I think we all would have agreed 5 years ago that the Lions' problem was going to be they have too many good players.
Yeah. Well, here we are.
Here we are, just like we all expected.
Here we are. But DC Kelvin Shepherd, the situation we've been discussing about Alex Anzalone, he addressed it at his press conference on Thursday. Here's what he had to say about Anzalone's potential contract dispute with the organization.
Zero concern. Me and Alex are all good. I have zero concern. That player's a leader here. He's been a leader here. He's been an intricate piece in building the culture that's here. And I'm going to pay the respect that he's earned and that he's due. And whatever his private situations are, I'll let Alex address those when he's face-to-face with you all. What I can tell you as far as the concern with me has no effect of how I see Alex or how I view him. That is one of our captains. He's been one of our captains, and I still see it as such.
And if anybody knows him well, it probably is Kelvin Shepherd, who's been the linebackers coach here since Dan Campbell took over.
Yeah.
And so if anybody knows Alex and what he can bring to the field, it's probably that man right there.
Pretty definitive, I'd say.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about it now.
No, you're not? You're not?
No, I'm over it.
Are you still worried about the Tigers? Or it seems like the meter goes all over the place every single week.
I guess we'll find out after the break.
We shall. We'll discuss the Tigers, who got a series win in Toronto as they now head to St. Louis, and then a big series against the Guardians coming up at home later on this week. We'll dive into that when we return on DSP.